Welcome back to the channel, everybody. This video here is one that somebody requested, and I thought, you know what, that'd actually be a pretty fun video to do, since I've got quite a bit of experience using various brands, sizes, and models within the different brands of spinning reels. And the video was, I would like to see a best ultralight reels under $100 or something along those lines. Anyway, I have a bag full of reels here and four rods with some reels on them, and this is going to go from the cheapest to the most expensive. And let's face it, there's going to be two of them that are well over $100, but occasionally if you get lucky and catch something on sales, like on Tackle Warehouse, or you know, you go to a tackle shop and find one used, you can find them fairly cheap. Like this most expensive one, I've got 40 bucks in, technically, because I traded a bigger version of the same reel, so still way more than that. Anyway, I'll list the specs and all that stuff on the screen for each of these reels, or screenshot it and overlay it or something like that. But we're going to go from cheapest to most expensive. Let's get these things laid out. And one thing that y'all need to know is, this is just my opinion. You know, you may have a different opinion. I'm a big fan of Shimano reels. Not saying that Arc or Daiwa, which, let's be honest, Shimano and Daiwa are top of the game when it comes to bait casters and spinning reels. But Evan Garcia, Cast King, Arc, several other brands make really good spinning reels. Let's start with the cheapest one. Now, a couple of these I didn't take off the rods, but you get my point. This is the Shimano FX 1000. You can get them at Walmart for, I think, $19.99, $20, something other like that. They're stupidly cheap reels, and the FX series of reels are pretty much Shimano's most entry-level reel that they sell. There's really nothing fancy to them, no bells and whistles really, and you definitely get that feel. Like, they do make a little bit of noise when you reel them. They're not the smoothest reel on the market. They weigh a little bit more than some other reels, but they're a good reel. Like, I've been using the FX reels for a couple years now. They're not bad reels. I do, or have had these in the 2500 and the 4000 size, and they're good reels for a $20 price point. Again, you're going to get, you know, some noise from them when you're reeling. They don't have the most sensitive drags. They don't have a lot of drag adjustments, because when you adjust the drag, there's a good bit of distance there that knob will travel before each click. But they're good drags. They're a good smooth releasing drag, even when they're, you know, tighter, because every spinning reel, every bait casting reel, every push button, spin cast, whatever reel, there is a certain amount of pressure that has to be applied to that drag for it to start releasing. And every Shimano that I've ever had has a really good smooth release. But yeah, Shimano FX 1000, cheapest entry-level reel on the market, aside from the stuff you get from Temu and AliExpress and all that. I don't trust those. Shimano FX, good reel, 20 bucks. Definitely worth checking out if you just want a budget beater style reel. Alright, starting at the next cheapest. Another one you can get at Walmart. This is the Shimano Sienna. You get them, like I said, at Walmart. You get them at Academy, probably Dick's Sporting Goods. A bunch of the big box stores carry this particular reel, and it's really not that much better than the Shimano FX that we just talked about, but it is a little bit smoother, a little bit quieter, not that much quieter. You still have a little bit of noise that this thing makes when you're reeling it or what have you. Still a decent drag. I personally feel that the drag on this one and the FX are pretty much the same. It's got a little bit louder drag, that's for sure. We'll take the cap off here and kind of show you the underside. I'm real picky with the drags. I want, like, that little drag clicker that sits underneath the bottom of the spool there, I want that to be a metal piece. That way it makes as much of a clicking sound as possible. You know, more audible reassurance that your drag is working properly. But the one thing with the Sienna is that little piece there that the clicker actually rides on, that is plastic. But they're not a bad reel, but line capacity is pretty standard with these. Personally, I wouldn't go any bigger than 6 on these reels, because even at 6 pound test, it doesn't lay as smooth or evenly as say 4 pound or 2 pound. There is a little bit more quality there. Not a whole lot of difference between the FX and the Sienna, but this one does feel just a little bit bigger, so it's not a massive difference. Next up is one that I've just within the last 2 to 3 months started playing with. This is the Cast King Zephyr, which is actually the reel that's made for this rod here. This is the Cast King Zephyr rod. This is the Cast King Zephyr reel. And I wanted something to pair with that one just because I like stuff to match. And I think this is the only color this one's offered in. Now, I am a sucker for 1,000 size reels. They just cast better, they have less line memory on them, which another thing that will come into play with line memory is not so much the height of the spool, but how like bigger around the spool is. You know, the bigger the loop is, the less memory that line's going to have. Anyway, this is the Cast King Zephyr 500 size. However, this is more closely sized to a 1000. Same taller spool, roughly the same size as a Sienna and some of these other reels we're going to have here. Really light reel. Also has a really good drag, and I like the drag on this one better than the Shimano FX and the Sienna. And the adjustments, you've got a lot less room that knob travels between adjustments, and it's more audible. Also, the drag system, that little clicker, it's fixed to the shaft of the reel, as opposed to on the inside of the bell or the spool, but it's got a little metal cap in there, so it's going to be a lot more audible than say the Sienna or the FX that use metal on plastic. And again, like I was saying, with that tension that drags have when it comes to releasing them, this one has a really smooth, really good drag for that price point. This reel comes in at, I believe, $36, $37. I don't remember if I mentioned it, but the Shimano Sienna come in at about $30. But this reel I honestly like much better than the Shimano Sienna. And I'm a Shimano's fan, like big time Shimano fan. This one's got a really smooth drag. It's fairly audible. It's a really light reel. A lot of that metal has been trimmed off of the spool, giving it a much lighter profile. EVA foam grip, super smooth reel for that price point. Like I said, it's not ultra quiet, but it's much quieter than that one. It's definitely a step up from the FX and the Shimano Sienna. If you decide to get a Cast King Zephyr reel, get the 500 size if you want an actual 1000 size reel, because like I said, this being a 500 size is more close in size to a 1000 than their 1000 is. Alright, this reel here is the one that replaced the Abbey Garcia Silver Max and Black Max reels. This is the Abbey Garcia Max Z. Not a new reel by any stretch of the imagination, but it is light. It's really comfortable, really smooth, and really quiet. Also has a good audible drag, but it's got a downside, and it has a lot of travel in between the clicks. Hopefully y'all can see just how much travel there is. That is a lot of travel. I'm just really picky when it comes to reels. However, it's got a really good audible drag. This is the, I actually just dug this one out of my reel box for this video, but it is the 1000 size. It's not much smaller than a 2500 Shimano nexave. It's a little bit heavier reel than the FX, Sienna, and the Cast King, but it's a good little reel. I do like this one. I haven't used it in a while, but it's a good little all-around reel for, you know, bass fishing, creek fishing, crappie, stuff like that. Does not have an EVA grip. A lot of people don't like those. This one has like the I don't know exactly what you call that, but the little rubber silicone type reel grip. One thing that I failed to mention between the Shimanos and up to this one is how comfortable these reels are. And the biggest part that I have a problem with on a lot of reels is this piece right here. Like that distance from the reel seat to the arm where your finger goes there. The Shimano FX definitely has more room than the Sienna. Like, my knuckle is hitting this down here, and it's just not as comfortable. The Zephyr, much more room. Like, your finger is sitting right there in that bend. It's a super comfortable reel. Same way with the nexave. You got more room, it's just more ergonomic. Same way with the Max Z. It's a little bit more, or a little bit bigger there in that little gap there. Very comfortable reel. It's not as quiet as, say, the nexave or the Cast King, but I like it. I just don't use it that much anymore. Now, onto the reel that came in the mail today. I have not used this particular model, but I have used the older models of it, and they're really good reels. This is one of the only Daiwa reels that I have, but like I said, Shimano and Daiwa are as good as it gets when it comes to fishing reels. Now, you've got a couple of other brands like Van Staal that make like ultra high-end stuff, but for the average Joe looking for something under 100 bucks. Anyway, this is the Daiwa Revros LT1000. One beef that I have with a lot of Daiwa reels is the shape of the spool. Like, for whatever reason, it's narrower at the bottom than it is the top. Well, that's not the case with this one. It does have that little gap right there in the very center, which I would guess is to make the line lay a little bit flatter. I'm not sure. Like I said, I've never messed with this newer version of the Revros, but it's a dang good reel. It's very smooth. Like, this is, up until this price point, this is the smoothest, the quietest reel. Definitely one of the more comfortable ones. Got a lot of space there for, you know, your fingers if you got big hands and big fingers. The drag, super clicky, super sensitive, very little travel in between adjustments. And if you like a real audible drag, it's a little bit quieter, but it still sounds really good. This reel comes in at roughly, I believe it was $56, give or take. It depends on where you look at. I got this one off of Tackle Warehouse. You've got the reverse switch, super smooth reeling. It's got a like rubber, not really silicone, I guess it's not silicone, either way. Super comfortable grip. You can get the T handle in the bigger sizes of this, but this is the 1000 size, and I'm more than likely going to spool this up with some like 4-pound fluorocarbon or just some cheaper 4-pound mono like the Trout SOS. So, Daiwa Revros LT1000, really good size reel, really good quality reel. Like, Daiwa really doesn't make junk unless you get down to like the Sweepfire or D-Shock. Then you're getting into like this quality, like entry level for that brand. Next up, this one is not a 1000 size reel, but you can get it in, I believe, a 500 and 1000 size. This is the Shimano nexave. It's the newer, it's not new, it came out a couple years ago in this design, but it's the Shimano nexave. This is the 2500 size, and it being a 2500, it's obviously much heavier than the 1000 size reels, but it's definitely smoother, it's definitely a lot quieter. You know, it's kind of a theme here. The more you're spinning on these reels, the quieter and smoother they get. Same, really clicky drag. It's got a lot of like real positive feedback there. Really good adjustments. Really audible drag system. Definitely has a couple more bearings in there. Again, overlay of the screen of the specs and all that stuff. But this one I'm not a huge fan of, to be honest with you. Like, I don't know what it is, just don't care for this reel. Of course, I also have it a bigger size than I normally use on everything, because for my style of fishing, a 1000 size is really all I need, especially when you get up into the higher quality ones that just have better drags and just overall better reels. But it is a good looking reel, like that blue on black with a matte finish. That looks really good. The nexave, good solid reel, coming in at about 50 bucks. I definitely suggest checking those out. All right, these last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 reels are all going to be from Shimano. 2 of them are the same model, but one is the newer, more updated model. And this one here, if we're going by looks, just the aesthetics of it, the Shimano Sedona is just a dang good looking reel. You know, it's that gunmetal gray, almost matte finish on the gold spool. It's just a good looking reel. Gold handle, but this reel here is a little bit heavier, but being in that $70 to $75 price point, you're getting higher quality. It's definitely quieter, it's definitely smoother, definitely got a really good drag. Very audible adjustments, very little travel there in between adjustments. Really audible drag. This one, like I said, it's a little bit heavier, but these reels are just solid for the price point. One of my favorite ones, and this one here is the same reel, just the 2023 model, something like that. Anyway, same reel. This is the newer version of the Shimano Sedona. This is the 1000 size also. Super smooth, just like the other one. Super quiet. Same really fine adjustments, if not a little bit better. I think the drag on it's a little bit quieter, but you've got, you know, a little bit different aesthetics. The spool is a little bit different, definitely different, or different colors and whatnot. We've got 6-pound braid on this one, 8-pound braid on this one. Dang good reels for that price point. I have literally nothing bad to say about either one of those reels. We'll save those two for last because they're going to be like honorable mentions for those of y'all that want to splurge a couple extra dollars or a lot more dollars. This one here, in my opinion, is about as good as it gets when it comes to that $100 price point, because this comes right to that $100 price point. Now you can get the Daiwa Fuego. Either way is a dang good option also. Again, I'm a Shimano fan. No hate toward Daiwa at all. I use them. I just prefer Shimano. This is the Shimano Noski 1000. It's the newer version that came out 3-4 years ago, something like that. Really light reel. This one, I've got it on a ACC crappie sticks, super grip 7'1" medium light, which really feels more like an ultralight, but a little bit heavier reel. Really nice aesthetics, and it just feels good. See if I can get this thing off here. But drag, I think it's got one of the better drags, or actually the better drag out of all of these. No, almost no movement there in the adjustments. Well, in between adjustments. Good audible drag. It's not too loud, not too quiet. Really smooth. Like for $100, this reel and the Daiwa, I believe it's the Fuego, whichever their $100 reel is, are about as smooth as you're going to get for that $100 price point. If you wanted to stick too close to that $100 price point, this and the Daiwa are going to be your best options, in my opinion. But being a Shimano fan, I'd have to side with this one just a little bit more. Again, a Noski 1000 size. I've got, I believe, 5-pound braid on there. These reels right here are just stupidly durable reels for that price range. You would be surprised at what these reels can handle. I've seen some straight up hogs drug in with that 1000 Noski. Now, this one here, I'm gonna have to say this is my favorite of all the 1000 size reels. This one is not going to be in that $100 price point. It's going to be well above that, actually. This is the Shimano Stradic 1000. It's the older model, but these reels, brand new, sell for about $199. But occasionally with sites like Tackle Warehouse, you can catch like spring sales or Black Friday sales or something like that and get them super cheap. In which I've got all of mine for around that $125 to $130 price point. It just feels more durable. It's definitely, like, you'd have to reel one in a store or something to get what I'm talking about, but it just feels more torquey. Like, it just feels like it has more power to it. But super high quality reel for that price point. Quieter adjustments, which is fine. Not a lot of play there in between the adjustments. Very little pressure required to get that drag to release. And when you've got a really good high quality drag, that's what you're going to get from it. I've got 6-pound braid on this one on a 6.6 medium light 6 cents rod, and it's just super versatile for you know, bass fishing, crappie fishing, stuff like that, I will not be afraid to tangle into something bigger, even with that lighter line. I've got an identical version of the same one, but with 10-pound braid on it, you know, for a little bit bigger situations. This one is definitely not at that $100 price point, but if you could sell some stuff or trade some stuff that you're just not using, you could get it for a relatively decent price. This is the Shimano Vanford. This reel comes in at about $250. And I know somebody's gonna be like, well, why would you ever spend that money on a reel? Don't they all do the same thing? Yes, they do. But as you've seen, the cheaper reels, let's just face it, they're not as high quality, not as good of drags. They're usually considerably heavier. Now, this one here, if I was to put it up next to the Shimano Stradic, this one, they perform more or less the same. The Stradic just feels more torquey. This one is more high speed, a little bit more finessey. But I had already had a Shimano Vanford in 3000 size from ages ago that YouTube paid for, but ended up trading that one off because I just didn't want a 3000 size reel for this rod, which is a Zodius 6.9 medium light. And this one is the 2000C, and what that is a 1000 size reel, so but roughly the same size as a 1000 size reel. The only difference is the spool is cut deeper. So for example, this one will hold roughly 140 yards of 10-pound braid, whereas a 1000 reel in the Vanford would maybe hold 100, 110. It's just a balance thing. Like, this reel feels much better on this rod than the 3000. But I know somebody's gonna be like, well, why would you ever spend that kind of money on a reel? Well, it's what I wanted, and it's, you know, expanding my knowledge of what works for me, what doesn't. Now, realistically, do I need a reel that expensive? No. But, you know, YouTube helps pay for that with revenue and all that, so it's not that big a deal. Now, that one, I traded my 3000 Vanford for, and $40, so I really only have $40 in it if you want to look at it that way. Our reels are not the same once you get higher in price point. It's like comparing the 1000 FX to a 2000 Vanford is like comparing apples to oranges. There's a massive difference there. Like, this reel, it's a little bit bigger, but it's smoother, quieter, better drag system. It just performs much, much better. Anyway, do you have to go out and spend a ton of money on fishing reels or to catch fish? No, you do not. As I said, $20 reel, dang good reel. It's just, I prefer some that are a little bit nicer because they have better components and better bearings and whatnot. Go out and buy what's within your means. Use what you can afford and have fun with it. There's no shame in using cheaper gear whatsoever. And I hate mentioning how much I got into rods and reels and all that, because I'm just not that kind of person. But for the sake of the video, you know, I'll mention these price points. Anyway, like I said, use what's within your means and just have fun with it. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise, that you know, have to have higher quality gear. Just not the case. It is nicer stuff, but you don't have to have it. Anyway, this is just my opinion on these reels. Somebody asked for what I thought was the top under $100 reels. I figured I would include a couple if you wanted to splurge and go a little bit farther into it. But you can go as cheap as you want. You can go somewhere in the middle, or you can go as high as you want. As long as you're catching fish and have fun with it, it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter to anybody else how much you spent on gear. Anyway, I hope you liked this video. I will eventually get around to doing the same thing, but with rods. I don't know that I will do that with ultralights, because I think I've only got 2 ultralight rods, fixing to be 3. But we'll do $100 rods and under. I'll just have to see what all I've got, because I don't know what they were. Anyway, outro's gone on long enough. Hope you liked the video. See you next time.